Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 0 to 60. Now, I wanted to do a quick update on my 17T car. Now, there's no doubt that this year, this car has not had as much love as it would have if we didn't do things like Bio Really, issues with the X5, issues with the Vargas car, issue with David's car. Because although this has got an issue, which I'm going to talk about in this video, it still doesn't really take away from how awesomely fun this car is. No, I'm not maximizing its power, but on the street, the way it is at the moment, it's still got too much power for the street. It is awesome, and I love it. I love being able to just pump fuel in it. I love being able to lend it to people, and it just works. Everything's fine. Just this little niggly thing. And the little niggly thing is I just can't quite hit boost targets. So hopefully you know the story of this car, but long story short, about a year ago I put 17T turbos on it. We got JSR to tune it, and it ended up being wickedly fast, much faster than I ever thought a China turbo car would be. We did a 100 to 200 time of 6.1 seconds, and that was great. Had it at that power level for about a month, I think, last year, and hopefully a lot of you were here for that time, and it was awesome. Absolutely blown away with the car. We took it roll racing for that first time, and we beat that 750 wheel horsepower Commodore. Sorry, Corn. Yeah, it was just a lot better than I ever thought it was going to be. However, I didn't know about a little rust issue I had in the boot. So E92s, common issue for them to get water leaks in the boot. I had no idea it was leaking water. Long story short, it actually rusted or corroded through the power wire that powers the water pump, and I had no idea. So I was driving this car around with a temporarily working water pump, which probably isn't a good thing when you're running pretty aggressive timing and 27 PSI. Like, these motors will get hot very quick, and without the water circulating, it's obviously going to cause things to get hot quickly, and I think that's what's happened. I'm pretty confident that I've just melted cylinder 4 on the other engine. Anyway, we got the other motor in, we ended up finding the problem with the corrosion, and I thought all was good. Going back through my memory, and hopefully someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I do remember doing a video where this car wasn't actually meeting boost target. With the new engine, we sort of started with a more gentle tune. We wound the car back down to 25 PSI, I think around 8 degrees of timing when I'm on my E85 tune. So it was a bit more of a gentle thing, but I still couldn't get it to meet boost target. I ended up doing a video on it, and then I ended up finding that a intercooler clamp was actually not quite tight. Like, it was finger tight instead of being properly torqued down, which is what you need when you're running that sort of boost. I ended up logging the car again, and miraculously I got a log where the boost was just perfectly on target all the way at 25 PSI. Unfortunately, since that point, it has never happened again. I ended up logging the car a couple of weeks later when it come time to wind it up, and it just wouldn't hit boost target. Now, I sort of said to JSR, there's probably something wrong with what I've done when I swapped the engine. Obviously, I've had everything out, everything's been disconnected, and there's a lot of possibilities for me to have messed something up, and that was causing the boost issue. And that's what I've been working through. So every time I've had this car every time this car's got E85 in it, I'll try and fix something. I'll change something, we'll go out and do some logs, and we'll see if we can get boost on target. And I haven't been able to do it, and that's why when we've done Euro days, when I took it to the drag strip, it was only at 25 PSI, because I could only hit 23.8 PSI. And all the logs that I've done in that time, my max boost has been 23.8 PSI. I mean, it's close enough to 25. It probably doesn't make a difference. Not really. It probably would on a dyno, but I mean, even driving it around and doing those events, it probably didn't make a difference. But that's why I haven't wound it up past 25. I've just kept it at 25 the whole time, apart from testing. Anyway, in that time, which has now been like 9 months of messing around with it, I've done everything you can think of. I've swapped everything you can think of in the hardware side of things to make sure that I hadn't messed anything up when I did the motor swap. JSR has been on hand, and we've tried a few different things with the JB4 settings, but I start with all the basics first. So all of my charge pipes, gaskets, O-rings, solenoids, vacuum lines, everything on this car has now been replaced. The reason I've left these ones out is because these were a bit of an anomaly that I thought I'd better mention to the N54 world. In fact, they were the last thing that I'd done before I sort of given up. So this car was always running stock diverter valves, and never had any issues with it when it was on the old motor. But I was thinking maybe these are why I was only getting that 23.8 PSI. They are... It's a bit of a thing. Like, a lot of people say they're no good, where Terry from BMS has no issues running stock diverter valves on 30 PSI. Anyway, I thought, let's eliminate them. I end up getting some Chinese diverter valves. Now, these things are super basic. They've got an adjustable spring that you can adjust the tension on by winding the top. Obviously, they're still vacuum operated, or, well, vacuum and boost operated. So if they get vacuum on them, they will open up. If they get boost, they will close. And they should work absolutely fine. What ended up happening with them is I ended up getting massive overboost issues. So I'm still running stock intake manifold and the stock feed to the diverter valves, which is a very, very small line. And I wonder if that's the problem. Let me know your thoughts. That could be the problem. I haven't changed that. I haven't changed the intake manifold or added any of extras to it. So basically I'm getting the stock feed to these diverter valves, and these definitely must need a bit more air. As I tip in on a roll on, so say I'm rolling along at say 3,500 RPM, if I mash the throttle, I'll hit 32 PSI before I get to like 3,800 RPM. So come on to boost really, really quickly, but we're talking 32 PSI at 4,000 RPM in an M54. Who needs con rods? Thank you, Max Speeding Rods. We might need them earlier than we thought. But yeah, I've been driving it around for about 2 months with these in, but I've got to be really careful with how I roll the power on. If I do a normal log where I go wide open throttle from 2,500, it wouldn't overboost. But when you're in a race, you're in that power range where you can mash it quickly and go for it, and that's when it would overboost. I only picked up on that because the JB4 twice actually switched into safety for overboost. Honestly, if I didn't have that JB4, I would have never noticed it was overboosted because it just felt sick. And it only happens for a split second. So yeah, ended up winding these, trying all different settings, winding them right out to max softness, and it would still overboost. So obviously the spring that's inside them is just too tight, or they don't open or close at the right time for what the JB4 needs. However, the reason I installed them was to see if it was what was causing my 23.8 PSI boost limit, and it wasn't. So even with those fully closed, where they will cause overboost issues at the top of the RPMs, I couldn't get more than 23.8 PSI when I'm targeting 25. Now, JSR mentioned changing duty cycle, duty bias settings in the JB4, which basically gets the wastegate solenoids to close the wastegates more to make more boost. I know I've been playing with that and it didn't really make any difference. And what has led me to this video, today I've ended up just manually winding up boost targets. So now if I target 25 PSI, the most boost this car will make is 23.8. If I target 26 PSI, I'll make 24.8. And if I target 27 PSI, it'll make 25.8. So I'm basically 1.2 PSI off target at the top end. And I've actually got this log here, which I'm going to screen record. And we can overlay so you can see it on the screen. But in this section right in the middle here, you can see at 6,000 RPM, we're hitting 25.7 while we're targeting 27, so that's 1.3 off. But yeah, this little curve here, pink line being target and blue line being actual boost. So you can see we get a little bit of overboost as it comes on, which is normal, comes back down, hovers around, and then yeah, basically from 5,500 RPM onwards, we just fall under target. Now the weird thing is, I mean, that looks like a boost leak, but the more PSI I target, it's always 1.2 PSI under. So I don't know if it's a firmware issue. I am running the latest firmware on the JB4. I really don't know. I've literally been messing around with this forever and I cannot work out what is causing it. Should we just stop that screen recording? Yeah, it's really been a bit of a pain. But in the same note, because this car is so good to drive around normally, I haven't really prioritized it. The reason I thought I'd do this video and just see what we can get from you guys is I want to go roll racing on the weekend and I want it to be quick. Yeah, we're going to have one last hurrah at roll racing in this car with the 6AT this weekend. When I took it to rolls at the end of last year, I had this boost issue, so I could only make about 23 PSI. However, with the tyres I had on last year, those PS4Ss, traction was huge. So I had boost limited to like, I think 10 on 15 PSI anyway. So this boost issue I had was only an issue at the top of third gear. Hopefully this time I'm going to have, well, I'll have the AR1s on the back, so we'll be able to hit way more boost down low, maybe even like 20 PSI in second. That'd be amazing. And it should be a lot faster than it's ever been before for roll racing. But I would really like to be able to get its full power back at the top end again to get some good 1-2s before we take the auto out. Because I really want to run, I want to get sort of maximum 6 AT figures with this car before the DCT goes in, so you can get an idea on how much faster a DCT is going to be to a 6 AT if you're thinking about transmission swaps. That's the plan. That's the plan. So yeah, if you've got any ideas why a JB4 would be one PSI under target. No matter where you put the target, please let me know. And yeah, I know I could probably just target 28 PSI and then I'll be pretty close to my 27 that I want to be at anyway. But yeah, I'd like to try and work out why it's not doing what it should be doing. I'd like to know why things do things. And this is such a weird problem. It's why I haven't mentioned it earlier. And I really thought I'd just mess something up when I'd done the engine swap. But yeah, I've double and triple checked all of the hardware. It's a weird anomaly. I've got no idea. Guys, I just got a message from Declan. He's actually bringing a G80 M3 round right now. I don't know how he's acquired that, but we're going to go do some draggy runs in that this afternoon, which will be tomorrow's video, and we'll see how quick BMW's S58s, see how quick they are in the real world with a couple of people in them, because that's what I'm interested in. Until then, yeah, while racing this weekend, please come and say hello if you are in Queensland. It'd be great to meet some more people down there. I'm going to have this car here. Tim's going to have his DAW Flowmax car there, and Scott is going to have his 19T car there. So it's going to be a bit of a N54 onslaught. Should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I reckon both of those cars are probably going to wallop this one at the moment. We'll see how we go. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.